Glitch Productions, the studio behind shows like The Amazing Digital Circus and Murder Drones, has just released the trailer for their upcoming show, The Knights of Guinevere. It's created by Dana Terrace, and with the pilot having a release date of September 19th, it's also right around the corner. While watching the trailer, however, something stood out to me. The show is clearly inspired by Disney, and not in the good way. It's not exactly a secret that Disney has seen better days as of late. They have movies underperforming left and right, and new controversies springing up like weeds. On the creation level, I would argue that much of these missteps are the results of poor decision making and overreach from the company executives. Whether that's inserting things, removing things, or anything in between, it's clear many creatives are not happy about the way the company has treated its projects. And undeniably, one of the biggest mistakes Disney has made in this department in the last 5 years was its treatment of the Owl House. Whether or not you were a fan of the show, you have to admit its cancellation was a mistake for Disney. The Owl House was originally pitched in 2016 to 3 different networks: Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and of course, the Disney Channel, where it eventually ended up residing. Disney was chosen specifically because, according to Dana Terrace herself, it seemed more open to queer themes and characters. Additionally, at the time, both Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network mainly wanted to pick up episodic 11-minute comedy shows, and that wasn't the direction Terrace wanted to go in with her show. On top of all of that, it's not really a surprise she went with Disney, considering she had worked on prior Disney Channel shows before, like Gravity Falls and DuckTales 2017. She already understood much of how the studio worked, and she already knew people there who could work on her show. Terrace would later retroactively say that if she had made the Owl House with a different studio, she probably would have had a different team, a tighter budget, and shorter episode lengths. All of this is to say, Disney seemed like the perfect choice, but as I'm sure you've gathered, or as I'm sure you know, that all went downhill. The studio initially ordered 2 seasons of the Owl House, each one consisting of around 20 episodes, and during the rollout of season 1, it seemed to be doing well. It was getting decent numbers, and the crew knew that they were going to get picked up for a 3rd season. However, on May 17th of 2021, about a month before the release of season 2, Dana Terrace announced some very tragic news on her Twitter page. In response to someone congratulating her on season 3, she said, "This is a shortened order from our expected 10 to 20 episode pickup. It was unexpected, and focusing on this situation was the main reason I left Twitter a while back." Someone then followed that up by asking if that meant season 3 would be the final season, and Dana Terrace confirmed it. Basically what happened was that despite the show doing well and building towards a 3rd season that Disney seemingly wanted to do, Disney decided to can it, giving the show only 3 more episodes to finish up its whole story while citing that the show no longer fit their brand. Many Owl House fans initially interpreted this to mean that Disney was cutting the show because of its queer representation, but Dana Terrace herself later confirmed this to be false. In my personal opinion, it seems much more likely that the show was cancelled because of panicked executive decisions during the pandemic. Anyways, while season 2 was rolling out, Dana Terrace said this about the cancellation: "The meeting was extremely frustrating because we were doing well, we were getting decent numbers. It didn't make sense, especially during a time where the studio should have been supporting crews and artists and their production staff, and we were getting none of that, on top of the show getting cancelled. It was just so much, and it took a while to recover from that creatively." It was only after cancelling the show that those executives realized that they had made a mistake. Dana Terrace would go on to say, "At first the executives would see the show trending every day on Twitter and be like, oh, anyone can trend on Twitter, that doesn't actually mean anything. But seeing the views on YouTube and seeing the people who came to New York Comic Con gave them a much better idea of, oh no, the show is actually successful." Unfortunately though, by the time those executives realized this, the show was already cancelled. Dana Terrace was obviously frustrated with this. She did everything right. She made a show for them which was successful, and then they cancelled it, only for them to later realize that they judged it too quickly. They had made a mistake. The thing is, this mistake messes up people's jobs, their livelihoods, their art, and their passions. How could Disney make a mistake like this? They literally had all the viewership numbers and stats right in front of them. This is executive incompetence. And since then, Dana Terrace has stated multiple times that she would not make a season 4 of the Owl House if given the chance. Now, this is the part of the story where Glitch comes in. On January 17th of 2025, a new independently animated show is announced. It's called The Knights of Guinevere, and one of its creators is none other than Dana Terrace. The studio behind it is Glitch Productions, possibly the largest and most popular indie studio in the whole world, at the very least it's top 2. And they're known for basically letting their showrunners make whatever the heck they wanted as long as it wouldn't get banned off YouTube, meaning it has a lot more creative freedom than Disney ever did. Outside of her Owl House artwork, Dana Terrace had always been known for drawing some pretty disturbing things, particularly body horror. You could see that inspiration in the Owl House, but obviously because of the show's demographics, she could never go that crazy with it. But now, in this teaser for Glitch's Knights of Guinevere, you can see that horror in full display. At Disney, Terrace had been restricted, both in the episodes, as I've just recounted, but also in it being a family show. Now, she's basically free and can do what she pleases, and most importantly, there's no executive meddling. This isn't all about Dana Terrace, however, as I'm sure you noticed there's 2 other names on the Knights of Guinevere creators credit, those being John Bailey Owens and Zach Marcus. The first wrote on Future Worm, and the second wrote on Star vs. the Forces of Evil, but most importantly, they both also wrote on the Owl House. So they all have that bad work experience. Yesterday, we finally got the trailer for the Knights of Guinevere, and it could not be more obvious that it was made by a bunch of artists who were screwed over by Disney. The trailer opens up to a view of a theme park with a large statue of a princess overlooking many castles. It's clear that this park is themed around the princess, but as the narration suggests, this was a long time ago. A little girl is seen walking towards a bed in a large room surrounded by gifts. From the following scenes, it's safe to assume that none other than the mascot of the park, the princess herself, is the one laying in the bed. Another shot of the bed shows it surrounded with medical supplies, and the narration describes the princess being trapped by machines running on blood and fear. Then suddenly, the old film burns away, and we presumably cut to the modern day. The park is run down and covered in trash and graffiti. We get a shot of the little girl pulling on a vital of this living princess machine as an older man stands above her. We get another shot of this older man later on. It seems to be a video of him from long ago. He addresses the camera and tells the audience to meet the different versions of the princess. If you zoom in, one of these versions is a live-action version that nobody asked for. Another one is a doll. But then all of the scenes cut away, and we're left with a series of much more violent ones as the show's logo grows towards the audience. While watching this, it's impossible not to compare it to Disney. The parks with the castles and princesses long past their glory days. Scenes of this man who you could argue does bear some resemblance to Walt Disney. And then of course this jab at live-action remakes, a very clear reference to Disney's most recent obsession. Glitch also put out a very brief summary alongside the trailer saying, "Knights of Guinevere is a psychological thriller that welcomes you to a planet-wide theme park in the clouds, and the shadows below, where a broken princess android is 2 dreamers' tickets to better lives, or the end of them." This reads exactly like a corporate monopolistic dystopia to me. I mean, a world that looks like this that was also a planet-wide theme park? Just look at the residents present day. Clearly whatever company this is didn't care enough for the common man. Or at the very least, the company abandoned them when things got tough. Maybe that was when the when the animatronic princess died? I'm drifting a tad into theory territory here, but I think you can see the parallels I'm drawing to the Owl House's team's own experiences at Disney. And regardless of what we think of that last point, I think we can all agree that this is clearly inspired by Disney, and not in the good way. It was around 10 years ago now that Dana Terrace first started working on what we know today as the Owl House. What many people don't know, however, is that the show didn't exactly come from the purest of intentions. She had shown a very early version of the story to a writing partner who called it boring and said that nobody would watch it. And it was out of spite that Terrace created the 15-page pitch bible that would be used in pitching the show to studios. So I'm just saying, if Dana Terrace was able to create an entire successful TV show out of spite because someone called the idea boring, just imagine what she's going to do to Disney.